Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to start part one of Black and Bipolar. And this is my story. For those of you who don't know me, I am 32. I'm a mother. I'm a full-time employee. I'm a business owner. And I'm a wife in the making. I grew up with a lot of siblings, a lot of cousins, a lot of family. And from a young age, this is all hindsight, but from a young age, I always felt like just that my feelings were amplified. Like if I was sad, the world is ending sad. If I was happy, I'm on top of the world happy. And there were days where I just felt like whatever. But for the most part, I had an okay upbringing. There's some childhood trauma. Who hasn't suffered that? Some deaths in the family, blah, 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 etc. I want to fast forward until maybe I was 19. At 19, I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old on my own, in my own apartment. It was just me and my kids. And I was working full time. I remember there were times where I would go to work from 8 to 5. I would come home, feed my kids, and literally lay on the couch holding both of them and sleep all the way until the next morning. And like we'd be in the bed by 6 o'clock every night. And it wasn't all the time. At first I used to say, oh, I'm just tired from work. But it was a lot. Then there were days where I would get off work and I would go hang out with my friends and I would take my kids places. But for the most part, I was like an introvert. Like I just wanted to be at my house. There were times when my house was crazy dirty. Then there were times when my house was super, super clean. But I never really felt like there was anything wrong with me. Fast forward to when I was 25. 25 is when I got pregnant with my youngest child, my 7-year-old son. And there was some issues in the relationship with his father that caused me to feel a higher level of anxiety. So I started going to therapy. I started, speaking out about how I felt to my doctor. And I thought that I felt better. I was told that I just had some anxiety and depression, but nothing really too serious. Postpartum depression is what they wanted to attribute all of my feelings and my ups and downs to. So I was going to therapy and I just thought, okay, I'm fixed. I'm cured, whatever, Then maybe 2014 or 2015, I just got so overwhelmed during Christmas time at work. Work was overwhelming. We did not get paid, so I was stressed out because I had else to feed, a whole household to provide for, and I felt like the response from management was pretty much, I don't care. So I called the emergency assistance program for the employees, or employee assistance program, whatever it stands for. I called them and I basically broke down because I'm struggling. And again, my emotions are amplified. It's not just like, oh, you sad. Now you sad. Or you're angry. No, you're angry. Like, how could you punch somebody and get away with it type angry, So I called my doctor after I got off the phone with EAP, and my doctor was like, come in and see me. Now, mind you, I've had the same gynecologist for 13 years who also decided to expand his practice to internal medicine. So now not only is he my OBGYN, but he is also my primary care physician. So I started going to him about the problems that I was having, and one day I needed an appointment really bad, but he wasn't available. He was out of the country. So they gave me an appointment with one of his associates. this doctor, I mean, made me feel at home from day one. We talked about everything. It was more like a therapy session than, a patient doctor visit. So I had been seeing her for the last 2 years. And one day in July of this year, wait, I'm skipping part, I'm sorry. When I first saw my primary care physician, the guy, he prescribed me some medication, and he said, I've been trying to give you this for years, but I knew you were not gonna take it if I prescribed it, so I was waiting for you to come ask me. So I started taking this medication and it helped with my anxiety. I feel like it took away my conscience. I mean, I still don't do bad stuff to people, but that verbal cautionary measure that most people have, I didn't have. I say what I want, and I didn't care. Like, I wasn't mean, but I'm very witty, so a lot of the things that I would say would come off as very humorous or whatever. But I just felt like the nervous feelings I had about starting a route that I've never been on, or going to new places, or being in social settings, I didn't have anymore. Like, I'm the life of the party wherever I go. So I was taking those for about 1.5 years, and then that brings me to July of this year, where just a lot of things were going on in my life, and a lot of things were going on at work, and I just felt like the walls were closing in on me. I was suffocating, and I didn't know what to do. So I asked my job for some days off. They said no. That enraged me, because on my request off form, I said, I'm ill, I need to seek medical attention. I didn't know how else to word it, but I just knew I needed to get some help. So they told me no. That was a Friday. So I cried and cried and cried, but I called my doctor on my way home, and I expressed to her how I was feeling, and she said, go to the emergency room and get an emergency psychiatric evaluation. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know if I want to do that, because for one, that's weird. I've never heard of that. Like, I don't want to go to the hospital and say, commit me, I'm crazy. So I just cried the rest of the night, and then I went to work on Saturday. But on Saturday, I felt like just anxiety just all up in my chest and in my throat, and it was like I was fighting back tears every second of the day. So when I got off work Saturday, I cried a little bit more, and then I decided I'm going to go to the hospital. So at the time, I was having some foot pain. So I went to the emergency room under the guise of having foot pain. But once I had the nurse alone, I explained to him what I was really there for. And the first thing he did was console me and tell me that I should not be embarrassed, nor should I feel ashamed. And he told me a story about his brother and how his brother was suffering. So he treated me with such kindness and such compassion that I felt like I'm in the right place. So I sat in the emergency room for a while, and I got the evaluation. But I felt like the psychiatrist on the, what do you call that? The teleconference or something like that, where I can just see him on the screen. I felt like he was like trying to rush the process and wasn't really listening to what I was saying. So he gave me a prescription, which I did not take, and gave me off for 3 days. In that 3 days, I was able to see my doctor, and that's when she said those words: bipolar disorder. She said, I've known you for years now, and I feel like that could be a very big possibility. She was like, some of the behaviors and activities that you indulge in, that you tell me about, it makes me feel like you could be bipolar. So in that moment, I cried, because so many guys that I have dated have said that to me. Oh, you must be bipolar, you must be bipolar. But the way they said it wasn't in a way that I could receive it. It was more like, oh, you mad today, but you was happy yesterday. It was like that. So I was kind of crying to myself, because maybe they were right, and maybe somebody or some of them were saying it sincerely. So I went to a psychologist. And if you want to hear what happened in that moment, you have to stay tuned for part 2.